Thank you.
So,
Appreciate it.
no, we appreciate you. So what I would love to do, Bert, is a lot of people haven't had the luxury of getting to know you and understanding your background before you came to Neumi. So could you give us a very quick synopsis of your background and nanotechnology, and how did you end up here today?
The question is always there. I've got to tell you that about almost just after the turn of the century, 2002, 3, I got involved with a company that was going into the nano business. My role and my background is legal, of all things. And I was in-house counsel for this group. And we started going through the steps of getting ourselves into a nano world. At the time, to be honest with you, it was a stock play. Everything that was nano at the time was selling at 11 or 12 times value as opposed to 6 or 7. So the concept for the guys that were involved were going to be to simply take a company, add the nano, spin the company. We went public, and everybody lived happily ever after. I got into the nanotechnology side of things and fell in love with it. Actually, it's now an obsession. So for 20 years, I've been involved with nano, both hard nano, which means nano coatings and those types of things, as well as the soft nano that we're involved with on the human supplements. So that's kind of how I backed into this one. But man, I wouldn't trade this one for the world. I'm having a ball.
Beautiful. Well, we're so glad that you made that decision and that you're with us. So it's interesting because when we talk about nanotechnology, I say this to people, there's nanotechnology and nanotechnology. And, you know, by saying, for example, if I had a roller skate and you had a Ferrari and we both say we've both got vehicles, well, we do, but one is very different to the other. So when it comes to nanotechnology, so that people can understand one size doesn't fit all, can you just explain a little bit about what is nanotechnology?
Sure, absolutely. Nanotechnology is the study of very, very, very small particles. If you take a meter stick, for those of you who are not into meter world, it's about 39 inches. You divide it into a billion pieces, you've got a nanoparticle. To give you a sense of how small we're dealing with, if you were to take the circumference of the Earth and call that a meter, a nanometer is about 1.5 inches, maybe this much of my finger. It is just incredibly small. And the study of it has become, it's been involved since the early 90s. It's been around forever, but it's now being studied more and more and more. And it really is a study of very, very small particles. And the benefit that we have with it is that one of the biggest advantages is the surface area. Most chemical reactions, most biological reactions happen on the surface of a particle or of a chemistry. And that surface area depends on the size of that particle or the chemistry particle. And so what happens is if you were to take let's say a soccer ball, and you would take the surface of the soccer ball, take a razor knife and open up the soccer ball and lay it flat, you got about 2 feet worth of area. And that's the surface area. But if you take the same volume of that soccer ball and turn it into ping pong balls, and if you were to be able to play each one of those and open it up, that surface area goes up exponentially to the point where if you did that with nanoparticles, if you got a soccer ball full of nanoparticles, and if you could open them up and lay them out, you've got the equivalent of almost 60 soccer pitches. I mean, the surface area of a soccer field times 60. And so it's an amazing science because you can use that science to be able to make things more reactive, more biologically available, more all of those kinds of things. So that's really the reason we do technology. That's the nanotechnology.
Beautiful, beautiful. Great layman explanation. And we did say, by the way, guys, beforehand, Bert's going to do his best to keep this very layman so that the average person can comprehend what we're talking about. We don't want to drown you into it.
And don't cut up the soccer ball because your kid's going to hate you for it.
Spot on. So With this in mind, when we talk about the word nanotechnology or nanoparticles, we're not going to go directly into that topic of why people are bringing it up, because we're not here to our products are not designed to treat, cure, prevent any disease. We're not competing with anything. Having said that, how do you, for the people who've been caught up with a little bit of knowledge, which is dangerous, caught up with any negative hype about the word nanoparticles, how do you address that stigma?
Well, I think that it's a new, I mean, for a lot of people, it's a brand new technology. It truly isn't. Our bodies are nano machines. We eat a carrot and we turned it into particles that are the size of nanoparticles to feed us. But the whole concept behind nanotechnology and all of that, I mean, it's healthy. It's a healthy thing to have a concern. I'm not trying to naysay anybody that's not concerned. I mean, there's issues on, human contamination or the environment or self-replicating robots that we're not ever going to. I mean, there's a lot that is involved with looking at it, and it's really kind of a risk balancing. And in the wrong hands, obviously, anything that's good can turn bad. Anything that's bad can turn good in the right hands. And so I think that there is, the concerns are a lot of times formed because of insufficient information. Simply, they don't know enough about it. There's speculation, there's rumor. It is tough for any of us to say, oh, it's something I don't understand, and therefore I will reject it. I've watched nano as an industry. When it first started to really burgeon, everybody was excited about it. Then everybody, within a year, everybody was scared to death of it. And now, over the years, it's become more and more acceptable in ways that are amazing to us. Absolutely amazing. There are things that are happening that I can't even begin to tell you what we're going to see. And it's the beginning of a long term. Nano's not going to go away.
Yep, love it, love it. It's interesting. While you're saying that, I was thinking, when someone said this to me recently, asked me a question about, nanoparticles, aren't they bad? And I'm like, well, you know what? My analogy is this. And I was brought up in the same house as a family member of mine. I won't mention the name, but my mother always just said we were made with chalk and cheese, So when it comes to money, my perception is money is neutral, right? Money pays hitmen, money builds churches, money feeds the poor. So money's neutral, but put money in the wrong hands and you might have a problem. Put it in the right hands, it does amazing things. Whereas one of my family members who just sees everything, money is bad, money is bad. Well, no, money's neutral. Same with nanotechnology. Put it in Bert's hands, I feel very safe, right? And Steve Scott's and so forth. Put it in the wrong hands, absolutely. It probably be something you don't want to have anything to do with. So great concern, but you're in good hands here. Now, next question is, can you tell us about the use of lipids versus water and the benefits of that? Because that's one of our uniquenesses, isn't it?
Well, I think that's that particular item is fairly important. Making nanoparticles is not a unique science to one or two industries. There are a lot of people that can make nanoparticles, and they're either made from the top down, which is basically grinding and milling and taking a larger particle and continually breaking it into smaller particles, or from the bottom up, for creating it out of chemistry. The biggest problem with making small particles is that they have a great tendency to want to reagglomerate. They want to get together with their buddies. And to keep them separated, we have to physically do something that will keep those electrical charges from being able to attract each other. And so a lot of people will do a lot of things. In the coatings world, you take the nanoparticles and you put it in a ceramic metallic coating, and you spray it down as a matrix, and it stays separated. In science, in the soft nano, you put a mycel, a coating around it, or somehow do something that will keep them separated. There are a lot of people that will use lipids. A lipid is a fat. It's a wax. It's fat soluble vitamin is a lipid. There are a number of different types of lipids, and lipids are designed to be, and they are also polar in nature. And so what happens is that you take it and you take a small waterborne particle and you wrap it in lipids, because the particle itself is not friendly to water. It doesn't dissolve easily. And so they will put the coating that they'll put around it will be a lipid. They've called them liposomes. And what it is it's 2 layers worth of lipids that keep the particle surrounded until it's used in the cell. It's not a bad program. And as a matter of fact, they're very effective. But the biggest issues with them is stability, and also some of the issues on how they're formed and when they're formed and what happens after the lipid is involved and absorbed into the cell. So for us, we take a look at that same issue, trying to keep things apart, trying to keep things separated. And what we've been able to achieve is that we're able to wrap it with a water cluster so that we don't have issues like oxidation. That's one of the issues with the lipid side, is there's an oxidation stability issue. With us, we don't have that. The other piece that we don't have is the body's concern about, once you get the lipid inside your cell, what do you use it for? Now, some lipids are very, very good in cells. Not all lipids are bad, but it's just a difference in our feelings that we want something more clean. So there is a difference, huge difference in how we wrap our nano and how somebody else will wrap theirs.